What's up, Biker Bar? This is Robert. Oh man, I'm still screwing this intro up. I'm trying to get this new Biker Bar intro in and I just can't do it. I'm so used to saying, "What's up, YouTube?" that I can't say, "What's up, Biker Bar?" So apparently I must not be supposing to change that. So let's try this again. What's up, Biker Bar? I'm Robert, and here we are again on episode 33. And today's guest is going to be Fezzari Bikes. But before that, you get to hear me ramble on about why you should go check out my Instagram, because I'm always posting pictures over there, what's going on. If you're not a part of my social media, you probably miss out on a lot of stuff. So definitely check that out. Either choose one, Facebook or Instagram. I guess you could choose Twitter. I don't think that there's not shit going on over there except for basically links back to my Instagram. So go ahead and check that out. It's at BikerB1. So all three of those is at BikerB1. Like and subscribe and tell your buddies and whatever the hell you're supposed to do with that. Make smoke signals and shit. I don't know. Outside of that, I want to thank everybody who signed up for my Patreon. I really appreciate that. It's definitely what keeps this channel going. I ran into some stuff that I had to pick up this week. My light freaking died. I need to ride at night because it's going to get hot and hot and hot here, and it's fun to ride at night. So hopefully thanks to you guys, that'll be part of the deal. And I screwed up my rim in Sedona, so thanks to you guys, that's getting fixed. Thanks. I really do appreciate that. If you have a chance to stop by at patreon.biker.com for $1 a month, you can get access to some of the coupons that I have with some of the vendors that I've talked to, as well as just help me out. I think if you enjoy the show, it's only $1. That sounds like a plan to me. Or $5 if you want to get some stickers. It's up to you how long you want to hang out there. But you sign up for $5. That's the happy hour crew. Get a sticker pack right away, and there's some extra content there. So moving on from that, like I said a minute ago, today's guest is Fezzari Bikes. If you guys aren't familiar with them, this is going to be an interesting conversation. I'll let Tyler from Fezzari Bikes go ahead and introduce himself and them. We'll go from there.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, like I said, my name is Tyler. I've been at Fezzari Bikes here for about 10 years. Fezzari's been around since about 2006. A lot of people don't know that. A lot of people think, hey, it's only been 2-3 years. But it's actually, we're going on 13 years here.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it's been a little while. It's been a trip, that's for sure.
It's a name. It's a name that I've heard like pop up, here and there, but I would have thought you were a newer bike company too.
We've hit a big splash here the last few years, with some new products that we released and a few things like that. But I mean, just kind of the quick background on us. We are a direct-to-rider bike manufacturer. We're based in Utah. We're about 30 minutes south of Salt Lake City. And we build really high-end bikes. That being said, we do have a really competitive pricing. Everything we do, we custom build each bike to each rider based on their sizing. Also, we have the options to be able to change out componentry and get the build that you want. Really, really high-end quality. We run lifetime warranties on every single one of our frame, including all of our carbon suspension frames, carbon road frames, everything. And then selling rider direct, we're able to offer the customization a little bit better. And there is a little bit of a cost savings there. But, that being said, we start bikes at $400 and, all the way up. If you follow some of our social media, you saw a full decked out enduro bike with XTR and NV wheels, and that we posted just the other day. And we hit everything in between. And we're really trying to build the absolute best bikes that we can, and offer a little bit something unique with the customizations that we run, and really just make biking a better experience.
That's crazy. I there's so much that you just said there. I'm like trying to make sure I remember it all enough to talk about it. One of the things that you said was the lifetime warranty. Does that carry over? Is that carried with the bike, or is that with the first purchaser? Or?
That's with the first purchaser.
Okay.
Yeah, just kind of like most every warranty,
Yeah, totally.
First purchaser, it's something we want to stand behind.
Yeah.
The testing standards that we run everything at, we're really strict. We're really, really, really hands-on from every aspect. That's one of the cool things about being rider direct is we get to do everything from the full product design and what the product is, to the marketing story, and obviously the business side of things, and the pricing, the strategy, warranty, all the way to after sale support. So we get the entire sales cycle all the way through. which is pretty fun and pretty unique. And so, you know, having the warranty, that is something that we really decided that was really important to us as riders, what we wanted to have. And so, you know, we were working really hard on the design to make that an actual viable option for riders and for a product.
Somebody on the chat mentioned that you guys have a 30-day guarantee or something like that.
Yeah. That's another thing. That's something we rolled out about a year ago. So
what's that all about?
We call it our love it or return it policy. And so what you can do is, you know, being rider direct, a lot of the times you aren't able to demo the bike.
Right.
We are doing everything we can to be out. You know, we met at Sedona or Sedona Festival. We'll be at Outer Bikes. We've been at the Outer Bikes in the past. Come see us at Sea Otter here in a few weeks. We'll be there as well. But what we do is buy a bike from us, ride it on your own trails for 30 days. And if you don't love it, return it and we'll pay for the return shipping. We'll refund your money.
Oh, wow.
So, but, you know, we're so confident in our product alone, what we do kind of in the design, as well as really the fit process that we have. It's something unique. We call it our 23-point custom setup, and we can talk a little bit more about that as well. But we go through this whole entire interview process and fit process and we fully assemble, build, test ride every single bike, that we really just want riders to have the best option. We're really trying to make it a win-lose, meaning a lose for Fezzari, right? We're doing everything we can to eliminate those barriers. You know, we're really just making the best bike that we can and offering that. So it is that hurdle. It's like, oh, you know, I'm going to spend $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 on a bike I've never ridden. Am I even going to like it? So we're doing everything we can. You know, that being said, the return rates have been next to zero. And it's really everything that we're trying to do. You know, you buy a bike online, you're going to get a phone call from us. We talk to every single customer to learn more about them, to make sure that the measurements we have from them to sizing their bike is correct, that you know, where they're riding, that they're on the right bike in the first place. We really just want to have the best experience.
Yeah, there was a conversation. I think it was a conversation I had last week on the podcast where we were talking about just people that don't really recognize, you know, what their problems are when they're first starting. Like they haven't been riding long enough to be able to like get on a bike. Like for me, and I'm like, oh, stem's too long, or oh, I don't like the seats, it's probably not wide enough, or you know, I prefer my seat tube angle to be more like this because I like it. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. So I would imagine, I mean, most of the people are probably ordering bikes from you that have been riding for a while, but even some people that have been are maybe not riding the right bike. How do you go about, like, I guess what's in this fit process that actually makes that work?
Yeah. Well, we actually get both. We get very first time riders, and then we get the guys that have been building bikes ground up in their garage for years. They're lacing their own wheels. They're changing doing everything from making sure, like, they're tuning wheels with spokes. I mean, that's how in depth these guys are sometimes.
Right.
You know, so we're really getting the full spectrum.
So the newer riders that you're seeing, then they're probably, you know, kind of just looking for somebody to really help them through the buying process and pick the right bike.
Sure. Yeah. So what the 23-point custom setup involves as far as measurements, the reason why this whole thing came about, why we did it, is you get everybody that's, you know, everyone's sized and proportioned a little bit different. The example I like to use is you get one rider who's 5'10" who might have a 30-inch inseam length, and the next rider who's 5'10" might have a 35-inch inseam length. Right. And the rider with that long inseam, short torso might need a shorter stem or a narrower bar or a wider bar, and vice versa. And usually it's like, hey, you're 5'10", here, fit on this large. And you're kind of stuck with whatever you get. And that's the traditional model, right? And so we're looking at this going, hey, that guy's going to buy, or that rider, whoever, is going to buy a bike, and then they're going to spend another $80 to change a stem, and, you know, $100 to change a bar width, or whatever it may be. And we go, wait, we're building these bikes right. We're building them anyways. Let's just build them right from the get-go. So we get a bunch of measurements: height, inseam, torso, shoulder width, arm length, age, weight, riding style. And then we even do that little mini interview, right? So you buy it online, we're going to call you. You're going to get a phone call, and we go through and we size all that thing. And we get riders of like, whatever you recommend, cool. You know, we've done thousands and thousands of these bikes, and we actually have a lot of fit data, you know, from this, and a lot of feedback. And then being riders ourselves too, you know, kind of what works and what doesn't work. And then we get people that go, nope, I want my bars exactly 775. I want this length stem. I know the geometry. It's going to ride like this. You know, I want my stack height to be this. On the road bikes, we've even had people, it's like, hey, this is my old road bike, it's worn out. I've gone in and had a full, like, professional fit session. Here's my numbers. Here's exactly what I want my stack reach drop to be on my road bike. And we go in and we match those. We're fully building the bike and we'll match everything out. So we'll hit both extremes. And really just making sure that the rider has a good experience.
How do you deal with the guy that wants the thing that's wrong for him? For me, like I've gone in and got a fit on my road bike before and then was like, these guys are fucking idiots, man. I'm dropping my seat back down or I'm pushing it back up. I'm like, I am not comfortable at all. I don't believe that crap.
So yeah, I mean, that's a tough one, right? I mean, that really just comes out of communication.
Right.
And everybody's going to be different. And I think it's a lot of it is talking to people. Like I said, I keep bringing up, the experience. That's one thing that we feel. We don't feel like we're really selling a bike. We kind of joke about this internally, and it's starting to turn external a little bit. But internally, when we have our staff meetings and we talk about training and we talk about builds and we talk about just customer service, we talk amongst ourselves of, we're not selling a bicycle, we're selling an experience that happens to include a bicycle. Yeah. Right. So it's every interaction from what you're seeing on the website, what you're seeing on social media, what you're seeing when you call in, if you call in and talk to us, chat through the website or email or whatever it may be. So that difficult customer, that, quote unquote, difficult customer, right? We talk with them, we have a conversation. We've had it in the past where it's like some guy who's 5 or 6 foot. We just had one a little while ago, 6 foot tall. And he's like, yeah, I need a medium. Your reach number, I'm on a medium, absolutely on a medium. And it's just like, man, you're like a large for sure. We can change all these, but we talk through it, and he has his reasonings and things like that. But at the end of the day, if somebody knows exactly what they want, we'll help them enjoy that, as long as they're happy. That being said, we're not going to reject or return or anything like that. We're more interested in getting people on bikes and having a good time.
My personal fit is more than likely I should sit on an extra large, and I almost always get a large because I just I feel like it's a little bit more flickable, and I don't I know I end up giving up something because of that. Like a lot of times my front end will be light because I have my seat super high compared to the frame, but I don't know. It's that's one of those things that would be for me, I would be like, man, how do I know they're going to give me what I want? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, it's not like there's this big mystery and we're hiding the cloak. And
right.
It's like we're real people, and that's the way that we look at everybody. We don't look at everybody. We don't look at customers as a transaction. We really we look at it as a family. It's like once you buy a Fezzari bike, you're part of the family.
Yeah, I feel like what you guys are doing as far as changing out some of those different parts, that's spot on, man. Because exactly what you said, man, it rang so true to me. Is it irritates the shit out of me when you see people have to buy a bike and then buy 6 other parts that to make it fit them right. And it's some shops will take care of people, they'll swap things out, but maybe some shops won't do that, or some shops will do it, but they're not really one for one and on the part, so you might have to pay a little extra or something. So that's intriguing, and I'll tell you as well, the reason that I reached out to you guys initially was I saw one of your Facebook ads, I think, that popped up, and it was talking about that fit process. And I was like, wait a minute, they're making a custom bike for every person. That's quite an experience, man. Yeah. How do you guys quantify all that extra time and resources that you put into that and keep the price low? Is it just because it's direct to consumer, or
it's really hard? What we're doing is not easy on any aspect, just from from the sourcing side or building the website and getting the shopping cart right and just the experience all the way around. Managing the inventory, just even on stem lengths or bar widths or things like that, it can get difficult. I really think how do we make that make sense? It really comes down to repeats and referrals. What are people saying about us? Are people coming back? Are people telling their friends? And really that experience. And somehow it's working. We did a poll of about 1,500 customers a little while ago. And we found that 2/3 of our business is repeat and referral. So we're doing something right.
Yeah, no, that's
you know, and we're looking to improve, obviously. But you know, if we're able to have people that are coming back time and time again, getting another mountain bike or getting another road bike or getting one for a family member, or it's like, hey, I got this bike, you got to go get one. You know, they're telling their friends and things like that. You know, we kind of feel that's to us, that's the best gauge. You know, is this working? How is it working? What's our customer team doing? And then any feedback we get, you know, it's like, hey man, I got this and this didn't work, or I didn't like this, or any negative feedback we're getting as far as, you know, I don't like this product, or I didn't like the customer service experience that I got, or, you know, I had an issue in this or whatever. We take those extremely serious. Being a smaller company, we can elevate those things very, very, very quickly. And so that's, and we try to make those changes very, very quick.
So how long have you been with the company?
It'll be 10 years this summer.
10 years. So you were there pretty close to the beginning then, huh?
Yeah, I joined.
You said 2006, right?
2006. I came on in 2009.
Right on.
So it's been a little while.
So how, if anything, if I ask you something you just don't know, just be like, I don't know, dude. So, so how did the company get started? Was it like somebody from another company, like another bike company? Was it just some dude that wanted to start trying to do this himself, or group of investors?
Yeah. So funny enough, it's a single owner family business, actually. The guy that started his company, started Fezzari, his name's Chris. Really down to earth. He's in the office as much or more than anybody else. He's there every single day. You meet him on the street, you wouldn't know that he owns a bike company, for the sole fact that he is just the most relatable, nicest guy you'll meet. And he rides like 4, 5, 6 days a week. We're finally getting a little bit of warm weather here in northern Utah, but he's out all the time. So his story is actually pretty cool. He's always been outdoors, always been into biking and things like that. I think you just kind of have to, living and growing up here in Utah. And he was actually a corporate lawyer. He worked in the corporate sector, and he was traveling all the time. He was, you know, leaving on Sunday, home on Friday or Saturday night. Kids were getting bigger, missing things here and there, and you know, just kind of saw, you know, a couple holes here and there, in the industry in general. He had been in the industry previously, he's actually doing e-bikes before e-bikes were cool. He was doing e-bikes way back in 2000.
Wait a minute. Yep. E-bikes are cool? I didn't know that.
To each his own, right? They make me giggle like a little girl when I ride them. So I don't have any bad things to say. I just like fucking with people. So anyways, he was doing that, and, you know, saw a couple of things and was just traveling all over the place, and just wanted to be around his family. And so he left the solid paycheck of corporate life to start a bike company of all things. And, you know, there's kind of a joke, you know, an ongoing, like, it's borderline dad joke, I guess, of, you know, if you want to make $1 million in the bike industry, start with 2. You know, it's just, you're just going to lose it all. Right. And so, you know, he went out on a limb and started this company, and, you know, kind of bootstrapped it out of his garage. And, you know, I started with him, and not too long after he moved it out of his garage and got some things going. And, over the years, the team has grown. There's about 26 of us total right now. And we're hiring like crazy right now because we're growing. And it's just grown from there, you know, and we've tried to constantly improve. We've, you know, added new programs, you know, the Lover Return It being one of them, that helps. And we've tried to build better products year after year after year. And that's hopefully something that is being seen. You know, we've won some big awards here this last year or so with Bike of the Year from some media outlets and all the reviews you're seeing out there. But the biggest, you know, kind of what I mentioned earlier to us is the repeat and referral from customers, people that are buying our bikes. They're coming back time and time again, and they're willing to recommend us to their friends.
So he basically had to learn how to source product and everything like that. I mean, he didn't have any experience with. I'm assuming you're not making your own carbon, right?
Yeah, it's all contract manufacturing.
Yeah. So I mean,
so we're doing all the so that's kind of my realm, actually. My official title, which we're not phantoms anyways, is Director of Product Development. And so I'm doing everything from managing, doing all the product management, overseeing kind of like the design. We've got designers and engineers and things like that, sourcing, working with our factories. I'm actually headed to the factories. I'll be over there for 2 weeks. I'll leave Tuesday morning. I'll be over there for a couple of weeks.
Was this something you did with another company before, or you kind of like learned your way into it too?
I've kind of learned my way into it. So I used to, I worked for an engineering company, totally different realm. It was aquatics engineering, actually.
Oh, wow.
And so, I just dabbled a little bit kind of in the drafting and engineering world a little bit, but mostly, my background, actually, I did a undergraduate degree in political science, and then, I got an MBA, so I got a business degree. So
there you go, kids. Get an education. Go work at a bike shop.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. I've kind of learned it. I've always been into bikes, obviously, from a young age. I've worked in bike shops. I've been around it. So, and just kind of the outdoor industry in general. So it's, I don't know, ever since I could legally hold a job, I've kind of been doing this.
No, that's awesome.
And just, learning into it and being business and being fortunate enough at a younger age to be able to travel, and work with people and work with the business sector and kind of knowing what to look for.
I'm sure the MBA definitely helped you be able to kind of do what you're doing right now. I made a joke about the education a second ago, but I mean, there's no way that doesn't play into your success of what you're doing right now.
Oh yeah, no, it's definitely something I've had to lean on, for the business sense, but as much or more kind of the EQ, the soft skills, right? Learning how to work with people and talking with people and things like that. But I think, kind of our core principles on it, we kind of look at it, as a company is we kind of look at ourselves a little bit like a SEAL team, where each member of SEAL team really, they kind of have like their specialty. They each, you might have like a demo guy, and you might have like a communications guy and things like that. And I'm not going to pretend to know about the world other than what I see in movies, right?
Right. No, dude, you're on it. Of course, that's obviously totally correct.
But they all can, they all can kind of carry a little bit and help each other out, right?
Right.
And so we kind of look at it the same way, where it's like, it's like our sales guys, like, they're working in sales, or our marketing guys, but it's like, hey, can they go build a bike? Can they ride a bike? We look at that, can somebody jump in and help out on shipping? And we really look at it like that. It's like everybody has each other's backs. You may work in your one little area, but it's like, hey, when needed, you can jump in and you can help out and fill in all the other places. We really look at that, and really try to put the customer first in those aspects and really work together. That's really how, kind of we operate. We try to make that, we hope that comes through in the experience for the customer. But just internally as a company, super fun place to work. It wouldn't be that way if for sticking around for this long. And we have a really, really, really great group of people. Everybody's just amazing.
What makes it so fun to work there?
I don't feel like I'm going to work. My wife actually jokes with me that I probably work too much, not as much out of necessity, but out of, kind of a hobby. Like I like it. I enjoy it, It's something that I'm passionate about. It's fun to be creative. It's fun to go, hey, what if we built this type of product? You're seeing that recently with our LaSalle Peak, our enduro bike that we launched last August. Just kind of quick story. An example on that one is one thing that's really set that bike apart is our seat tube angle. We're running a 78-degree seat tube angle. It's one of the steepest ones out there. And frankly, that was really scary. Really scary. When we were working on this bike a few years ago, everything was like 74, 75 degrees.
What kind of bike is this?
It's our enduro bike. It's our, 150, 160 long travel 29er.
With the 78?
78 degrees.
I don't even understand what's going on there.
Yeah, it's super steep. Yeah, super steep. And this is the one that's winning all sorts of reviews. It's our LaSalle Peak. LASAL.
Now I
so
feel
it's
like
actually named after LaSalle Peak near Moab. That's
where
we
guys
did all the testing.
Were you guys demoing that whenever you were down in Sedona?
Yep, and we were cleaned out all weekend.
That doesn't even make any sense to me at all. Like everything is slack, right? Like that's what it's all. Why the hell did you guys decide to do that? Now you threw me off. I had a bunch of other questions to ask.
78 degrees. It was scary, and it really was scary. At the time, like I was saying, everything's 73.5, 74, 75 was really pushing the envelope. That the whole numbers were like 65 head tube, 75 seat tube, and here this.
Yeah, I think that's what I'm screwing up with right now. I'm thinking head tube angle for some reason. So yeah, okay, now I'm tracking again. All right, but yeah, that is still pretty steep.
Yeah. So we did it for a couple of reasons. With now that dropper post prices have come down and you can get a dropper post on everything, you run that steep of a seat tube angle on a bike without a dropper post, and you're just going to get kicked right over the front. That saddle's going to come up and hit you. But now that we can get dropper posts on everything, we basically looked at it and said, why don't we build a bike that is in a strong seated pedaling position? Because we pedal bikes seated, and we descend mountain bikes standing up. So let's build a bike for a seated position and build a bike for a descending standing position, right? And so with going to 78 degrees, it does a couple of things. One, it gets you up over the front of the bike a little bit better. And that allows you to keep weight on the front wheel over the steep technical climbs, but it also allows you to get the crank up over the top of the bottom bracket a little bit easier as well. It also does a couple of things like in your seated position. When you're seated on a bike, what you basically need to do, you're basically doing leg presses, right? And so if you go to a gym and you do leg presses or squat and you have a rounded back, you're going to hurt your back. And so to get your core engaged enough when you're on a bike seated, you actually have to roll your hips back to be able to engage that core. And with a really slack seat tube angle, you have to roll your hips even further. So one of the kind of the secondary advantages of that steep seat tube angle is to get your core engaged for a strong pedaling position. You don't have to roll your hips as far. A lot of people don't have the flexibility to get in that strong position. That's why it's like you hear people that are newer or that haven't ridden for a while and they get back into it and like, oh, my back kills me, my lower back kills me. I need to be taller. And it's like, you actually just need to engage your core a little bit more by rolling your hips. But a lot of people don't have that flexibility. It's kind of just a side benefit of it. But it's that pedaling position. It's being up on top of the bottom bracket, getting the cranks up over a little bit easier. And then as well as, helping keep that weight on that front end. That's the whole thinking, and why we did that. But yeah, we launched this bike in August and it has gone absolutely insane for us. What's been kind of cool too is it was really hard going on that limb, going all the way up to 78. Because like I said, the bikes at the time, like right before we launched, really the steepest thing out there was 75. There's a couple bikes out there that were pushing that envelope, but most major brands were right in that 75 mark. And then what's cool is, we launched this bike in August, and then within, 4 to 6 weeks, there was a couple other bikes that came out that were, 76, 77, right in that realm as well. And so
you guys were onto something a little.
We felt we were really onto something. Yeah. Let me say the development cycle is really long. It's not like, oh, Fezzari launched something and changed it. Will you see that in the future? I think you will.
Right.
I think you'll see more and more brands here in the next couple of years. Everything's going to get steeper.
Yeah, I think what I was getting at is like, if you see a couple other companies doing it, then it's like, other people are thinking the same thing. You know what I mean? So it's not like you went out and you're just like pulled a number out of a hat and was like, I'm gonna try this. You know what I mean? Obviously there was some good thought behind it. And I think, that's one of the things about, a good mountain bike is that everybody's talking about it. It's like, how well does it climb? Like you said, we're not sitting down whenever we're descending. So like that seat's just slammed and you want it to be nimble and kind of, have good characteristics that way. But that seat doesn't have anything to do with that.
Exactly. And so, you really look at it like your touch points when you're descending are your cranks, which is essentially, attached to your bottom bracket. So it's like, what's my reach? Center of the bottom bracket to horizontal distance, center of the bottom bracket to center of the head tube, top of the head tube. That's what you're going to be feeling in your descending position. With that steeper seat tube angle, it does shorten the effective top tubes a little bit, but in our opinion, that's okay because you're going to get your hips engaged, instead of being all the way back, like this, you're actually sitting up a little bit taller, and opening up that chest, be able to get, a little more airflow and things like that. And that's on the enduro side, right? That is designed for enduro bikes that are designed to be pedaled uphill and then really railed downhill. If you look at more of our cross country's bike, we're not quite as steep because those are more meant for, pedaling on flat ground,
Mhm.
hammer, that's really how those bikes are ridden a little bit different. So you'll see those, in the 75-degree range.
So where you guys say every bike is custom, you're not changing the frame up for people though, are you? It's just in all the additional pieces.
Correct. Yeah. No, we have our frames that are standard. It's everything else on the frame that we're changing.
Right.
So we'll change, stack height, stem bar, crank arm lengths. One of the cool things we do now, speaking of dropper posts, is we change the dropper post length for your inseam, not for frame size.
Oh, there you go.
Right. So it's like, hey, I'm getting a medium size frame, to be safe. It's like, let's put a 125 mil dropper on every medium, just so that the person with the shorter inseam, they're going to fit it, because there's nothing worse than riding a bike and the dropper post is too long and you hit it up and you're sitting too tall, so you kind of have to like work it back down.
Yeah.
So the more accurate the measurement can be on the inseam, and we have a guide how to take that, we will go in and we will swap out your dropper post and we'll give you the longest dropper post possible, which is usually the norm. Granted, we've had some people that's like on the cross country side, it's like, no, I only want 100 mil post because I want it a little bit lighter, or whatever else reason. We've done that before. That being said, there are custom builds. Like if you go to our Instagram right now, you'll see that LaSalle Peak that's got XTR 9100 on it. It's got MBM 6 wheels, full Fox suspension. That build you won't see on our website. That is somebody emailed in and said, hey, I want this stuff. Can you get it? Luckily timing worked out that we had our XTR parts coming in and we did a full custom build. Or it's like, we have people that are requesting like DVO suspension, which is killer suspension. We don't have that on our website. Or, some other, I want an oval chain ring, or can you get me these grips, or can you do something like that? And some of the parts there might be a cost difference, obviously, from what comes stock on there. But it is something that we're able to do, and it's something we're able to change out. We kind of look at it's like we're building your bike anyways. It's not something that's just, shows up from Taiwan, kitted in a box, and we, throw it right back out on the FedEx truck. Is we literally are building and test riding and tuning every single bike. So when you get a bike from us, it's been test ridden, the suspension has been set. We have the option to ship you the bike set up tubeless, ready to go, adjust your tire pressure, but it's taped, it's sealed, it's really ready to ride. When you get the bike, you'll need something to cut some zip ties. Put on the 4 bolts with the just on the front of the stem. We include the tools to do that. Put in your front wheel, put in your pedals, set your max saddle height, and go for a ride. Shifters are tuned. Bed and process is already started on your brakes. Suspension is set up, which is kind of cool. Is like you'll see that around on a few reviews that have come out recently. That is the norm. That is how we do things. And because we really want a better experience for the customer.
So you say you're basically putting on the handlebars and the pedals, and what was the other thing? Just set the front
wheel and max saddle height. Most every single bike we ship the dropper post installed. It's inserted all the way into frame. It's compressed all the way down. So just set your max saddle height and put on the front wheel with the through axle and go for a ride. It's really simple. There's videos floating around from a few years ago that people are literally filming themselves like real time, and the video is like 14.5 minutes.
I can believe it. So, I mean, from what you told me right there, I mean, you could show up with the box in the back of your truck at the trailhead and put it together and go. It's really not that much going on there. No. So you said you include the tools too. It's just
just like a little pack of like Allen wrenches and pedal wrenches and stuff like that.
That's cool.
So get you all set up.
Right on. So what is the part that you guys have like kind of swapped out the most? Probably the stem.
Stems and bars probably. Stems, bars, road bikes, after that's probably saddle offset. With what we're doing based on people's measurements. Stems by far the number one thing that we change. We adjust fork lengths, obviously, with what people are doing and what they want to have. But that's the biggest. And then after that, it comes to componentry, it comes to, special spec or things like that. On a lot of our bikes, we have option to change tires because tires are pretty subjective to kind of where you're riding.
Yeah, that's a big difference.
here in northern Utah, where we have kind of pebbly over hard surface in a lot of places, I like narrow tires. I personally run 2.3s, which are considered narrow, I guess.
Yeah,
but I run like 2.3s because I want my tire to bite through that pebbly into the hard below. But if I go to the desert or like Moab, we're only 3 hours from Moab, we're lucky. I'll put on maybe 2.5s, even 2.6. We got a couple of bikes, our LaSalle Peak and our Signal Peak cross country bikes. Will handle 29 2.6s. And so I'll put bigger tires, because they do a little bit better flotation through the sand or rock or things like that. So we do have the ability to change some things out like that. It's like we're getting people on our cross country bike where it's kind of that aggressive cross country that, we do run more of a cross country tread on there right now. That's our Signal Peak. We do get people that want, Maxxis minions. So we'll swap out minions for them or, whatever it may be. So, so it's, stems, bars, cranks, seat posts, and then probably next after that is tires, and componentry.
How do you guys broker good pricing on all those parts? I mean, like part of the deal of like getting, certain set of tires on a bike's, how you're selling it is that you can, approach that company and say, hey, I'm buying, 50,000 tires. Give me a good deal. You know what I mean? So like, how does that work out when you're kind of one off in a lot of stuff?
We work really, really hard on our supply chain and our inventory management. That's really what it comes down to. And doing our very, very, very best to, make sure our suppliers are happy. It's not all about us. We might have the big, huge, name on the down tube of the bike, but there's a whole bunch of other companies involved and very crucial companies. And so we look at the supplier relationship as extremely important. They have our backs as far as warranty. We may acquire the customer, on the business side, we may acquire the customer and they might be a Fezzari customer. But kind of secondhand, they're a SRAM or a Shimano customer or a Fox or a DVO or a RockShox or whatever, Maxxis or whatever the tire company is, they're their customer as well. And time and time again, those companies have come to our aid. For example, this isn't the typical case. One instance we had an issue with a wheel failure, from a wheel company. The customer got back to us like, hey, this isn't working. Bike was 2 days old. It was obviously a failure, with videos and everything like that. This is an extreme case, right?
Yeah.
Just note that big asterisk right there, right?
That shit happens.
We sent this stuff to the wheel company and they go, oh man, that shouldn't happen. They know our model. They work with us a lot. We buy a lot of wheels from them, a lot of componentry from them. And they go, yep, where is this customer at? What's their address? And later that day or the next day, brand new wheel is on its way to the customer. Just like that. I mean, it's so cool to be able to have that, to work with so many good people in the industry that they're willing to do that. So it's the pricing thing, pricing's difficult. We work really, really, really hard at it. We spend a lot of time with our supply chain and we spend a lot of time with inventory management. So
are you going like direct to those companies? Like, how does that work? Do you go direct to those companies or do you have like a reseller and they go to those? Like, are you calling Maxxis up and saying, hey, dude, with this how many tires we need? Or do you go to like another company?
Yeah, we work directly with all the companies.
Okay, I see.
Yeah, we definitely work direct with them.
I wasn't sure of how it worked I'm not in the industry.
Yeah, so it's OEM, so it's original equipment, right?
Yeah.
So we're building the frame, we're building the complete bicycle, we're selling the complete bicycle. And so we work directly with all the component suppliers of here's what we're gonna buy, here's when we're gonna buy it. So forecasting, yeah, that one's
right.
I spend a lot of time on forecasting. That one's really difficult. If anybody can get a perfect forecast, let me know.
Yeah, talking about forecasting. So you said that you had a forecasted number of how many of those enduro bikes you were going to sell this year, and what was the percentage that you're at right now?
So originally we were like, oh man, this is going to be a lot of bikes, and we didn't guess high enough. We're up 400% on that bike.
Yeah, so forecasting was definitely a real fucking problem there.
Yeah, and luckily we haven't had huge like delays for customers. They we've been able to keep things relatively in stock. Nothing more. We typically put 1 to 2 weeks on our build time. You place an order, bike shows up within 1 to 2 weeks. There's always been a few rare cases where it's been 3, 4, 5 weeks max. But we're right back up. Everything's in stock, and we're rolling right now. And so that's where it comes back to the supply chain, right?
Yeah.
It's what do we do on our end? All of a sudden, hey, this product, it exploded. It was selling the daylights out of this bike. And how do we hurry and get a whole bunch more of it here?
Right.
That was tricky. But so far we've been able to pull through. I think our customers are happy. If anybody's listening and they think otherwise, send me the feedback. I'd love to hear it and how we can do it better.
Yeah, I bought a freaking Santa Cruz Chameleon in August, and I didn't get it until December. So something was going wrong with the supply chain there. My understanding was there was some kind of problem with like the boat or something like that was like coming from Asia or something like that. It was like all big hurricane or something like that, and I don't know. Either way, it was just like definitely a little bit of a letdown. I mean, fortunately, I'm not like a super high strung type of person, so I didn't really stress about it too much. But I could see somebody else, like if they were really like, say that was their first bike or something like that, they would be really upset. I was continuing to ride my other one. So, have you guys ever had something like that where it's just like completely like out of your hands and it kind of puts you guys back? Or
yeah, I mean, we had a few years ago. I mean, everybody had it. It was every industry though. When there was all the port strikes happening on the West Coast. I mean, there was stuff. There's photos of boats lined up for a month. We've had that. We've also done things where we want to come through. We realize the value of a customer, right? We want that repeat and referral. We work hard to get it. So if we have to, we'll eat air freight costs. We've done that before to get things over. But supply chain is difficult. It's extremely important. It's making sure that we get consistent product every single time. We'll run multiple batches, and it's like, batch 2 is as good as or better than batch 1. We make sure that we run that. And so, we're in the factories. I mean, it seems like constantly. I'm headed over there, for a couple weeks here this week. I'm in the factories, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 times a year, just to make sure that our product is rolling, that we're on track for timelines. We inspect every single frame meticulously, not only in the factory, but also before the customer gets it. And that's part of the reason why we're fully building everything. Things happen. We might get a supplier that might, there was something wrong with their assembly line on, tires or wheels or a seal on a fork or whatever it may be. And with that test ride and that suspension setup, we're really doing our best to try and catch any of that before a customer gets it. Because there's nothing worse than, buying a bike and waiting a week to 2 weeks and, FedEx shows up and you pull the bike out and you build it and you assemble it and you cruise around the parking lot and all of a sudden you have a brake failure or a fork failure, like immediately. And so we're doing everything we can to try and catch all of that before.
So you said you're going over there. Like, what is it that you do while you're there?
Everything
just drink a bunch of beer and freaking see.
I just hang out, really.
Yeah, right.
Race go-karts. No, so it's everything from inspection. So I will sit and I will manually put my hands on frames and look at every single frame. We'll check inspection, we'll check painting, we'll check all of that. This trip is we do fatigue testing on frames. So we're going to look at fatigue testing on frames and make sure that we're going to go pull random samples and we'll go see if we can break them, see if the layups were done right.
Yeah.
It's getting new projects going and a few things like that. So it's also Taipei Cycle Show. So I'll be over for a couple of days the following week. So
that's pretty cool. So, do they like when you get the frame done by them, like you guys have designed everything, or you guys are trying to tell them like, hey, this is the specs that we want, or is it like you're shooting them a CAD file and you're like, here it is, and these are the colors, and this is what we want?
It's full on design. And then we go over, and then it's whole production implementation. So it's, hey, this is what we want. This is the capabilities that it needs to be in. This is what it needs to test. So we're listing everything from, obviously like, geometry, like it's full CAD files with geometry kinematics, 3D files. We're 3D printing every single carbon frame before we build it. So we can actually see, hey, all of this turned out like the drawing said it would turn out. And we're fitting componentry and we're checking things, heel clearances are right, on the chainstay and seat stay, or, the cable ports actually work like we thought they were going to work, design on a computer, or whatever it may be. And then it's, we go through the whole layup design, target weights, strength testing. It's everything top to bottom.
That's crazy.
Make it all work, and work with the contract manufacturing to make sure that we do have the best quality. And it's not only, a dozen samples or something like that, but it's, thousands of frames. Every single frame is perfect.
Right. How do you go about even like picking your vendor for that kind of thing? You're like, my understanding is that there's not a whole lot of companies that are doing this. Like there's a few companies that are probably building frames for most of the big companies out there.
There is actually a lot of options. There's actually quite a few factories. And it's the level of factories. This is kind of where, back to the MBA, it kind of helps a little bit is going in and getting to know people and trusting people. Having a background and having a little bit of experience of learning how to do it and knowing what to look for. You go tour factories. You go into the factories and, oh man, before what
part of the world are we talking about? Or is this China? Is this like,
it's Asia? Yeah, Asia, it's all over there. So everything, all of our product comes out of Taiwan. So, so it's going in and it's watching. I will literally, last time we picked like a new carbon factory, I visited 6 or 7 different factories before I settled on the one that we were going to use. And
there's certain things like import export laws and stuff like that with those countries that come into play as well, or is it like, well, let's just find the right company and then we'll figure out the price because of that stuff later?
I think it's going to be more dependent on the company. It's really just, it's kind of dependent on the company and what each individual brand and what their individual goals may be. I don't think there's a hard and fast rule on that. I know it's something that's considered. People talk about it. I think as a business person, you have to be aware, of tariffs and duties and, could war break out or something crazy? Could there be some crazy referendum where you can't export a product or they can't build a product or that's the whole business. That's the non-fun side of it.
Totally.
But that is the business side of it. And we're aware of it. We're aware, and that's something that is considered.
Yeah, definitely. I would imagine. So typically whenever you're getting your frames for the year, is that like, do you go into that and like, you're like, hey, I think I'm going to sell like 5,000 of these bikes. I need them all now in January, like Q1 or whatever. Or is it like, you kind of project what you're going to need through the year and then they're like trickling in through the year? Or?
Well, a boat can only carry so many frames, right?
Right.
There's sailings every week. So, it's really, we try and lay out a forecast and we try and estimate, and factory capacities can only put out so many frames, and Fox can only deliver us so many forks, and Maxxis can only deliver so many tires at a time. And so we can only store so many componentry, in our building, and people are only buying so many bikes,
So basically everybody in the industry is kind of, everybody in the industry is kind of getting their parts trickle in through the year to meet the supply of what they asked for the entire year. Then is what you're saying.
I would imagine. I mean, I don't know. I can't speak for other brands, but I think that's just good business practice, regardless of whatever industry you're in. It's kind of like having a bike shop, and it's like, hey, last year I sold 200 helmets. Let's bring in 200 helmets in February. They're probably going to chunk it out, just for cash flow management. But
it makes sense.
I would imagine other companies are doing the same.
Yeah, totally. So let's change gears a little bit. When Fezzari started, what was the first bike that they did? Was it road bike, mountain bike?
You need to come to our showroom. We have it hanging up. It was a full suspension mountain bike, and wow, things have changed. Things have changed. Oh yeah, it was awesome. So when we started, we had 2 suspension bikes, a hardtail, and a alloy road bike.
So I assume that was all at that point, everything was aluminum then.
Yeah.
And they had somebody here in stateside that was building frames, or was the
Yeah, no, that was in Taiwan as well. So
okay.
yeah, we've been over there for a while. So yeah, that happened. And a little while ago there was that whole like 10-year challenge, everyone was doing on social media.
Oh
it's
yeah,
like,
I remember that.
That could be like maybe 10 years ago. We did one. So there is, our latest and greatest LaSalle Peak, and then there's our 2009 I think Nebo Peak was our top end bike back then. If you scroll back whenever I thought a month ago, 2 months ago or something like that, we did it, and we dug that one up and kind of chuckled about it, about showing the bikes, and it's drastic.
It's crazy how much stuff has changed, honestly.
Yeah.
Like,
well, you go look at anybody's bikes, they're all like from 10 years ago, all of them are kind of like, oh, compared to where everything is now. I mean, go look at anything, go look at cars, go look at whatever you want to. Everything's kind of changed like that. So
yeah, it's definitely I mean, it's not like it's not like the way that like Back to the Future thought 2010 was going to look, or something like that, but it's definitely like there's definitely been a lot of, I mean, I've been riding since the early 90s, and there's been a lot of changes, and man, it's like it's definitely, the bikes are way more capable than they were before, but it doesn't change the amount of fun that you have.
Yeah.
Like it's still just as much fun as it was then. But it just makes me wonder, like, I mean, some of the shit that we ride on today, like there is no fucking way we would have rode that. There was probably like one guy out of 1,000 that could have rode that, on an old like steel freaking hardtail fully rigid bike. It's still the same number, right? Probably. But now it's like with the bikes, they're so capable. I mean, that there's probably, let's just say 800 out of 1,000 guys that could ride this trail. You know what I mean? And it's like it's just crazy. It makes you wonder what 20, 30 years from now is going to look like. What the hell are we going to be riding? I
don't know. It's going to be crazy. It is something that we think about, actually. As a company, we kind of think of like, hey, where are things going in 10 years? What's going to happen? Where are we going to be? What's product going to look like? What are going to be the capabilities? What are people going to want? I think that's one of the cool things about the industry. We were actually talking about this the other day. And I was actually talking to another good friend of mine in the industry, and he's just like, yeah, my wife actually works in like fashion in the movie, or my girlfriend works in fashion in the movies and stuff like that. And we go to these parties, and it's like everyone wants to talk about me and my job because it's like it's fun. I get to talk about bikes, like I get to talk about everybody's hobby, right?
Right.
So that's one of the kind of things that we joked about. It's just like, we work in an industry where it's like people want to get products from us. That's where people want to spend their spare income. Is on bikes and the fun thing. And we just feel fortunate enough to be able to do that, so it's like, where are things going in 10, 20, 30 years? I still think people are going to want and need kind of that outlet and freedom that bikes deliver.
Yeah. I think there's a part of it that's like you are kind of like reliving your childhood a little bit or something like that, like that sense of freedom that you got the first time you rode or whatever it was, that sense of excitement the first time you climbed up this whatever hill, all the way to the top, because you had a single speed, essentially, or I think there's part of that. And I think there's part of, people are just really busy in their life, and it's nice to get out and into the woods and do stuff.
And as we change and get older too, and we want to share that with our kids. I just had it this weekend where my little 1.5-year-old girl finally got she got the little push bike all by herself this weekend. And I was like, yeah, I was like the proudest dad moment yet. So.
Oh no, it's super fun. Believe me, dude, it doesn't go away. My son is 18 now, and he's in the military. He came home on leave, and he's like, oh, I want to go ride. And I was like, that's fucking awesome. It's just like the best time to be out there, with him and just talking about shit and just being real. And I've talked about this a million times on my channel. I just feel like when you do shit that sucks together, it makes you like better together, it's kind of like survivors of an avalanche or plane crash or whatever, like they have that bond. And I feel like that's similar to like what happens when you ride bikes. Like you guys both sucked your way up this hill, but you had fun at the end of it all. You know what I mean? And it's like
there's something about sharing a trail with somebody. Some of the best friends I have and people that I've met have been through it's been the rough times on the trail, it's another friend of the industry is, we were riding in Santa Cruz and we were both just dying and, bonking after 26 miles and 4,500 feet of riding multiple laps around Demo Forest. And you got that big long climb up out of the,
that sucks.
up to the parking lot and stuff like that. And he was out of water and I was dying, and, we're good friends after now. We kind of laugh and joke about it now. So, but it's just things like that. And it breaks down personalities. You see people and you kind of bond that way. And that's why I think it's going to be around for a while. I hope it's going to be around for a while. And, as the world gets more wrapped up in the here and the now and what we need to have. And I think biking is that outlet and that freedom that so many people love to have. That's why we're both here, right?
Yeah, totally. I mean, and mountain biking itself has really let's be real about it. I mean, it was kind of like a boys club for a long time. And it was also kind of like not like the socially norm thing to do. But I was at the airport the other day and there's like freaking mountain biking on the little, advertisement there that while I'm waiting for my bags, or it's like you look at like some new car video and they're like, or new truck, they're like throwing mountain bikes in the back of the truck. And it's like, it's definitely becoming like way more of a normal thing, and not normal like late 90s, like mountain biking was like, oh, everybody had a mountain bike, but it was really just like a Walmart bike that had freaking some kind of pseudo suspension on it, right?
Yeah.
But now people are like really, really riding,
Yep. Well, look at the up and coming. I mean, I don't know what it's like in other parts of the country. I know it's big in California and a few things like that. But the high school league in Utah, they recently split it. There's now two leagues, two divisions, and in some of the big like 5A and 6A schools, there are more kids on the mountain biking team than there are on the football team.
Oh, that's crazy.
That's how big it's getting. And it's really cool to see that. And you see these kids out all the time and they're working towards something. It's story after story of, it's like, hey, my kid struggled in school and, struggled in grades, didn't have a whole lot of friends and just was struggling with life and kind of got into biking. And now they have confidence, they have friends, they're energetic, their grades are coming up because they found something to be confident in and something like that's what bikes are doing.
Yeah.
And it's really cool to see, and it's really, really fun to be a part of.
Yeah, it's crazy. I know when I was just starting riding, it was, like I said, it was beginning 90s. And I knew like one guy that actually rode mountain bikes with me. All the guys that I rode with were like 35 years old or something like that. And it's like, there was no other kids. I think it was like 8th grade or 9th grade, whenever I first 8th, I think. And, there was nobody that rode bikes like that. Like, and, it's crazy to think about it now, like what you're just saying, where it's like bigger than the football teams and stuff.
Yeah.
I would have killed to have a mountain bike club. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So
yeah, no, I was the weird kid in high school that, I was the one that I would kind of stash a bike in a car. Or I would kind of like ditch out of school and go ride bikes or something like that. That was kind of me.
Yeah. So you grew up out there in Utah as well?
I did. Yeah. So having the trails just right nearby, or, it's, you go take your mountain bike and kind of ride street stuff, and the rest of my buddies were on BMX bikes or go digging dirt jumps for a while or whatever it may be. So,
So what got you into mountain biking?
I've always been into bikes. My mom jokes and tells a story that when I was 2 years old, she put brand new pair of socks on me and I hopped on the neighbor kid's bike and I came back in and the bottoms were completely worn off the bottom of the socks. I've always been into it. I've always loved bikes. I've always been around them. And just being the neighborhood kid I've always been the one I'd rather be outside than inside. Digging in the dirt and just getting dirty. So I was always around. I love bikes. My older sister, actually, I think, she kind of got me into it. She got a mountain bike, when I was a little kid, and I was like, oh, I want to do that. And so when she wasn't using it, I would kind of like sneak it out the garage really quietly and cruise around and put it back before she noticed, and kind of jokingly. And I wanted to get my first mountain bike, and I saved up like mowing lawns around the neighborhood and doing everything I could to save up some money. And I always had BMX bikes and stuff like that. And I wanted to get my first mountain bike, and it was a Specialized Rockhopper FSR, right when that platform came out, 100 mils of travel, and it was $899.
Yeah,
is what it was. And I still have the paper today. My dad said to me, he said, there's no sense in spending that ridiculous amount of money on something you'll ride 3 times this year, twice next year, and not at all the year after that. It's like, I work in a bike company, right?
Yeah,
so,
right.
Super funny. And we laugh about that now. I actually hung on to that piece of paper just because I thought it was pretty funny. But just doing that and getting into it, and it's just, kind of like we mentioned, the fun, the freedom, and really enjoying it. So
yeah, that's a super cool story, man. I like hearing stuff like that. We were talking about the future of bikes. How do you guys feel about? To me, I think the thing on the bike that needs to go the most is the rear derailleur. So I don't know if you guys, if you're in line with me, but I just feel like that is like, it just doesn't make any sense, especially for like what we're doing. It's like, hey, let's put this like integral part of your drivetrain hanging down here next to all these rocks that you are trying to smash through. It doesn't make any sense at all. What do you think about that?
I think drivetrains are ripe for innovation. I think that is a place that can and eventually will be innovated. I would love to see that. I would love to see derailleurs go, external gears, all of that stuff gone. However, I do some road biking and gravel biking. I recently have been riding the new red Axis from SRAM, and it is unreal. That is a vast improvement over mechanical. However, I do hear you, something kind of hanging there on the mountain bike side, and a few things like that. That's one thing that we actually talk about it. That would be cool if someone could change drivetrains, or what can we do to change drivetrains? That would be, I agree. I would love to get rid of derailleurs, still have the gearing options, keeping the weight down, keeping the durability. It would be awesome.
Have you ridden any of the pinion bikes?
Not enough to have a, kind of a,
not to have a good opinion.
Not enough to really get out on them for an extended period of time.
Yeah, I hear you. I rode one of the Zero a while ago, and I would tell you, like, it was probably the most confident I've ever felt in corners, because according to them, it had to do with that extra weight kind of being in the middle of the bike, and they were like, it was just nuts. That end of it. I think there's some innovation to be had yet. I'm not going to go into too much detail about it. People see my videos, so they know how I feel. But
I think it's cool. I remember retrofitting downhill bikes with Hammerschmidt cranks and a few things like that. Trying to be able to do something cool that way, or or whatever it may be. But yeah, drivetrain. I think that's a place that needs to be innovated for sure.
Yeah, it's definitely. In my opinion, it's like the weakest link right now, but
that's still an extremely strong link,
right? Yeah,
we got some pretty amazing stuff happening right now.
Yeah, no, it's definitely some good stuff going on there. It just, I feel like, like when you said a second ago, like on road bikes and stuff like that, it's if it's efficient, like I understand, like, why bother changing it? You know what I mean? But with the mountain bike, it just seems like, I mean, how many times have I freaking bent a rear derailleur, or the derailleur hanger, or broke a derailleur? Or like, it's just like, I think that's probably the part that I've failed the most in all my time of riding. You know what I mean? Like, I can't think of anything other than, like, getting flats and going through tires. You know what I mean? That I've replaced as much as the rear derailleur.
Yeah.
Nonetheless,
maybe we just need to flip it upside down and put it on top.
Right? Maybe. I mean, if that's all it is, then right on. You know what I mean? So I'm down with whatever it is that stops that thing from getting broke all the time.
Yeah.
But so right now, let's get back to your bikes that you guys have. So you're doing, you have road bikes, like a whole line of them.
Yeah, we have a whole line of road bikes. We even do a triathlon bike. I don't know if you've heard about him. We actually had a guy. He's actually racing Cape Epic this week. His name Iron Cowboy James Lawrence. He's the guy that did the 50 Ironmans in 50 consecutive days, one in every state.
Wow.
Here a couple years ago.
That guy's got a fucking mental problem.
He does. He's also like the nicest guy you'll ever meet. So
yeah, no doubt.
Crazy. So he did that. He actually took one of our bikes up and down Kilimanjaro, our new hardtail we did a couple years ago. He's actually racing Cape Epic. Today was the prologue, so he's doing that one. But so we do everything on the road bike side, some triathlon stuff there, and then the mountain bike side as well. We do everything from like a $550 just hardtail mountain bike, some new hardtails in $1,000-$1,500 range, suspension bikes starting at about $1,700. Our trail bikes are going crazy. Our most popular trail bikes are a Bajo Peak and Cascade Peak, 130, 140 millimeter travel 29er alloy bikes. With one.
So it looks like you guys got fat tire bike. You got some cross country race. What's the difference between that? That's just like weight or something like that.
Yeah, and then a little bit of perception is like I want to cross country, but I want to race the bike. So it's setups, it's tires, it's our hardtail is going to probably fall in the cross country race and a few things like that.
So the difference between like enduro and all mountains probably more just like suspension, like how much it is.
Yeah. It's usually on that side, on the mountain side, it's usually suspension travel is kind of what denotes those into those categories.
So where was that? What section does that hardtail fall into that you were talking about, the $500 one?
That's probably gonna be on cross country. Here. That's called our Lone Peak.
Yeah.
So something kind of interesting is based here in Utah, we name our mountain bikes after mountains around us.
Oh, cool.
So Lone Peak is it's we can stand out in the parking lot in our office and we can see quite a few of the mountains. Just all the way around us. That's our Lone Peak. Probably our most popular hardtail is our brand new Wasatch Peak that we just introduced. That one's at $999, and then we have our a little bit higher end. We call it our Elite build at $1,599. They're 29er up to 2.6, or they're 27 plus compatible. Pretty rad little bikes.
Which one's that?
That is the Wasatch Peak.
Okay, so it's either or it's
yeah, it's either or. So you could order it either way. You can order it as 29, or you can order it as 27 plus. But you can, if you got a second wheel set or something you could swap yourself later.
Oh, that's cool. That's the whole reason that I got the Chameleon, because I wanted something I could do both wheel sizes on.
Yeah.
That's a really fun bike, man. I tell you what, I bought the Chameleon just so that I could I don't know, make things difficult again. I guess that's the key reason was I really just started thinking about, yeah, my Bronson is great, but I'm not riding in Tahoe all year. Like there's a good part of the year that it's snowed in, and even that, some of the places I'm riding, I'm like, dude, I don't need this much like suspension and everything. And I think that's the idea of like making things a little more simple and like I just said a second ago, a little harder again. Like it's like kind of became appealing to me. And I'll be honest with you, man, I'm digging that bike like more than I thought I was going to. So like anybody that's thinking about getting a hardtail, this looks like a pretty sweet bike to be from where I'm looking right now. What's the yeah, I mean it's got the NX stuff on it, and that's internal routing. Looks like unfortunately SRAM brakes, but everybody has to do something wrong. I'm just kidding.
And we'll swap them for you, right?
I just
whatever you want.
Yeah. I just like talking shit about SRAM brakes. They got great shifting, but their brakes don't do it for me. So that's super cool, man. So you guys, I'm curious, do you guys see like more 27.5 or more 29 sales?
Because we build more 29ers, obviously we see more 29ers. We're seeing a lot of them. Drivetrains have changed, get back into the design side, where we have fully killed front derailleurs. It's super rare to even see a front derailleur on mountain bikes. because we've been able to fully kill front derailleurs on suspension bikes, we've been able to shorten that rear end so much that we've been able to speed up and make 29ers more agile.
Can you explain why the derailleur going away makes the rear end shorter?
So we have to put the derailleur somewhere, first of all, right? And you have to have the derailleur in line with your chain line.
Mm-hmm.
And so enable to have tire clearance, if we run a 2.5 or a 2.6, you have that derailleur cage, that has to sit like this. And then you have your tire that has to sit wide enough. And that gets so wide, right, that in order to clear your front derailleur when it's in the low position, you have to move that tire back. Right. And to move the tire back, you got to extend your chainstays. And so with that front derailleur totally gone, it's given us as designers so much more flexibility with what we can do with chainstay lengths, to make sure that we have proper clearance, to make sure we have mud clearance, and especially for bigger tires and a few things like that. We have worked extremely hard to be able to offer 29 2.6 clearance on our bikes and still maintain, even on the suspension bikes, 430 to 435 millimeter chainstays, which is really hard. Had somebody make a comment to me, he's like, how are you doing that? People are having to do that and go really, really wide triangles and stuff like that. And he just joked and goes, are you just working harder than everybody else? And I was like, well, I don't know if we're working harder, but like there's so many good brands, so many good bikes and brands out there. Like you can't get a bad bike nowadays. You really just can't. But we do try and work extremely hard. If we can't figure out a way to do something better, which we try to do, we're going to do our best to outwork ourselves and outwork everybody else to make sure that, we do have the best product and we can back that up with the best warranty, and we're offering the absolute best customer support, and riders are having the best experience with Fezzari.
Yeah, I think what you guys are offering though too, where like you said about not being able to like get a bad bike, and I'll be honest with you, like, yeah, you can't. Like most of them are all really good bikes. And I think what it really comes down to is the build, because most of the things that, like, I don't do a lot of bike reviews because personally I feel like it's not fair to the bike company for me to come out and bitch because I don't like this fork that's on it. You know what I mean? It's not they didn't make the fork. You know what I mean? So I mean, I guess I could bitch about it because they didn't pick the one that I would want, or something like that. But on the other hand, it's like, essentially, like, those are the things that people are really like probably more so feeling whenever they get on something new, where they're like, oh, this suspension is way better than the suspension on their old one. Is that just from the actual suspension, or is that from the design? That's where you really have to have, I think, a higher level understanding of bikes to be able to make that decision. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I totally agree with that. That being said, with what I say earlier is yeah, our suppliers totally have our backs and we work with them, and they're amazing. There's so many good people, but ultimately it comes down at, like, it did get put on, a Fezzari bike or whatever bike it is. And we work, we call it our full bike analytics. Is we don't just like, oh yeah, we built this frame, we built this cool frame, just slap stuff on there. We really go through every component down to like water bottle bolts and really make sure that everything we put on our bike is the absolute best value for the money. Yeah. We want to make sure it's the best performing. We ride all this stuff. It kind of gets joked around, like around my desk, my whole area, I've got parts all over the place. It's because we're constantly testing, tire treads and wheels and suspension and brakes and drivetrains to make sure it's like, yeah, this is something I would put on my own bike. If it's not something we want to put on our bike, we're not going to put it on something and sell it to a customer.
Yeah. What is one of those things, those like really small attention to detail things that most people wouldn't think that you guys have put your thought into? I can tell you, I did an interview with Night Composites up at their place in Bend, Oregon, and they were like telling me about how much freaking effort that they put into like building this perfect valve stem, where it was just like, and all this stuff that they told me about, I was like, I wouldn't ever even thought about that, like being anything. Like, I was like, it's a valve stem. We thought they were all the same, it's just like, what color is that one versus that one, and it's crazy.
I can give you two quick examples on the product side. I would probably say on the new LaSalle Peak and Signal Peak, it's our clean catch cable systems. You don't realize what cable routing does and how difficult that can be sometimes, but it's how we're routing our cables. Something simple. We route them on the top side of the bottom bracket. It doesn't grow. The cables don't grow through the suspension. And then the cover plates. We went through like 4 iterations on that to make sure that the bikes were totally silent when you're riding the bikes. They were really easy to work on. That one, that actually, 4 iterations. It was like 2 different molds that we opened, and they're plastic injection molds. They're not cheap, right? To make sure that little teeny thing that you don't really notice till you've had the bike a month, or you've had to reroute cables or whatever else. You don't notice that. That's
so is there like tubes inside of the frame that the cable goes through?
We don't do that. No, it's really just in where the cables exit and enter the frame. We've been able to keep them quiet and how they're held with the ports. That's kind of the product side. We spend a lot of time. The other side, though, actually, and this one's harder to see, until you come spend a day with us. But how much our people actually care? They care that they're not just getting something out and they're getting a paycheck.
Right.
It surprises me day in and day out going into work, and you see people that really care about the bike that they're building for, who they're sending it to. They kind of, they joke about what they're, what is this person like? Even to the point that, we're writing little handwritten notes on the inside of the boxes.
Yeah.
For people. I got a text message this morning at 7:30 from one of our heads of customer service on a Sunday morning, and she goes, "Hey, did this get done? Oh, I had a nightmare about this that we didn't get this done for this customer." But having totally. People that are willing to do that and just they just care. It's not just a paycheck. It's not just a job. It's not just getting someone out the door. They're building something. They're building an experience for somebody because they know what a bike does for them. I think that's one that definitely can't be underestimated. It's really hard to see until you come spend a day with us or you interact with some of our people.
You're building a product that what the impact is, because like I would imagine most of the people there, I would imagine everybody there's probably a bike rider of some sort, right? Yeah. So I think that's there's no question about what's going to happen to that thing when it leaves. Hopefully it's not one that just hangs on the wall in the garage, but for the most part, you're understanding like there's going to be like some like epic times with people in this thing, so it's important that it's done right.
Yeah, exactly.
That's really cool. What is so you're traveling around with the company? So I saw you at Sedona. You were like wrenching on bikes and kind of doing your thing there. And so you go to a lot of the events, or is that kind of split up between different people?
We try and send everybody. We'll send different people out. I'll go when I'm needed. To kind of help out. We've got a killer crew that they're able to do it, and I'll go when I need to.
Yeah.
Sedona was one I actually wanted to go to as well.
Yeah.
So pick and choose. I do travel. We try and get some people out, but yeah, you'll see me at events.
Yeah.
You'll probably see me at some outer bikes this year. Definitely see me at Sea Otter here in a couple of weeks. We'll be around, but we try and keep our demos going. And then if you're ever in Utah, obviously you're more than welcome to come see us. We do run a showroom in the front of our offices that has all of our bikes, and come see us. And
do you guys have trails that are like right by where your office is? Like
we've got stuff maybe 10 minutes away.
Oh yeah. Okay.
You can stuff there. Not far.
Yeah.
You don't have to go drive an hour.
Right.
We've got a huge network of trail, maybe 15-20 minutes away. As the high alpine opens up, we've got an amazing canyon, about 15-20 minutes away that you're up over 9,000 feet, like no problem.
Oh wow.
Really fast. It's pretty amazing.
What's the elevation like where you guys are at?
Office sits at about 4,700 feet.
You're up there already then.
Yeah.
Because I think Tahoe's like 5,000 or something like that at lake level, but obviously you can jump up there from a bit from that. So you got some lungs on you, man.
Maybe.
So what is it that you like about Sedona?
That was my first time.
Yeah.
Actually, unfortunately, I only got out one day to ride, but I like that event. It's really fun. It's cool to have the whole industry. It's kind of the first event of the year.
Yeah.
It's really exciting for me. It's really rewarding to spend so much time on a product. This one, obviously being like, the LaSalle Peak, Signal Peak, our Cascade Peaks that we had, so much kind of, sweat equity on a product, and then see people come back and just be stoked out of their mind. Like, oh my gosh, that's the best bike I've ever ridden. Oh, this is changing everything. Oh, I love biking. And just, they're so happy. That's the best part to me. That's kind of honestly why I like to go to some of those events, is just see that. And it's a good learning experience for me. I can, face-to-face interaction with customers. I get to talk to them. I get to know them and know who's riding our product, or who potentially could be riding our product, and kind of internalizing that, and how do we adapt and change and build better product, but also become, a better company all around.
So Mark Jones asked in the comments here as we're chatting, where the name Fezzari came from. Is that the last name of the founder, or?
No, so Fezzari, it's like the root word is Ari, which actually is a Japanese word for it, which means like the word really means, Fezzari means to be in the moment. And that's kind of how we try and live our lives, how we try and act as a company of be in the here and the now, enjoy what's happening, also focus on what's happening, and try to become better.
So it's like a derivative of you said of a Japanese word, or?
Yeah, Ari means like here and now in Japanese. So
that's interesting. Does was there some kind of Japanese background to the family, or just some kind of it was just this seems
so the founder spent he did a
he used to be a ninja or something?
Actually no, it was an exchange student in Japan.
Oh, okay.
And so just kind of that culture, and it's kind of a cool culture, and
no, that's super cool.
I like it.
Right on, man. Sorry, that was a good question. I meant to ask it earlier in the conversation, but once I saw it pop up, I was like, you know what? That's a good thing to ask here. So you're heading to Sea Otter. You guys releasing anything special over there?
You may see a new release from us.
All right. Have you?
You'll have to come see us.
Yeah, I haven't been to Sea Otter yet. This is I'm excited to go. You said it earlier. You're like, oh yeah, Sea Otter's a couple weeks away. I'm like, holy crap, that's coming quick. I still need to figure out where the hell I'm sleeping. Trying to talk my buddies into one of my buddies that lives right by there, and to me, being able to crash at his place, then I don't have to go camp or anything like that. So
I've heard. I've never camped, but it seems like the camping at Sea Otter at Laguna Seca is a party all weekend. So. Oh
yeah, I'm sure it's freaking a shit show, I would imagine. That's great. So with the different lines, you said that the enduro is doing really well. What is it that you think that is making that bike stand out the way that it is?
I think it's the whole package, really. I think it's a lot of what we did with the suspension design, and how we built in really the leverage ratio. What we did with the leverage ratio is really progressive, so it's really soft off the top, but it just kind of it catches you at the bottom. With that, the pedaling efficiency, the anti-squat values are I think they're very, very well done. So the pedaling efficiency, time and time again, we hear it, from customers, even in the media reviews, it's like a bike this big shouldn't pedal this well. We're constant, in testing and things like that. We were doing 20, 25 mile, 4,000 or 5,000 foot climbing days on it all the time. It was awesome. So I think that the pedaling efficiency, the geometry numbers, I think we hit the geometry numbers spot on. It's a slack 65-degree head tube angle for the downhill, the short offset fork, helps the slow speed steering, the steep seat tube angle. That's kind of the magic of that bike, that 78-degree seat tube angle. Then you combine that with everything that Fezzari is, the customization that we're able to offer, super high end quality, the lifetime, that frame gets a lifetime warranty, and every piece of the frame's carbon, rear triangle, front triangle, even the rocker link, lifetime warranty on all of it. And then, the build packages,
How's that work with like crash replacement kind of stuff then?
Crash replacement, I mean, crashes obviously aren't covered, but we do have crash replacement pricing. Kind of reach out if we need to do just like a chain stay or a seat stay. We have just those parts available. We can help you out on that one, and we're usually pretty aggressive on it. We're not really interested in gouging people. We want to get people back up and running.
Totally.
So we want them stoked and happy, so they'll come back and get another one. 3, 4 years, 5 years down the road, or get one for a friend or a neighbor or a family member or something like that. So.
There you go. Right. So, I'm sorry, I cut you off when you were explaining that one. So basically you're thinking just the whole package there.
Yeah. So suspension design, what we were doing with that, just, it rallies downhill. The pedaling efficiency, you're able to get into it. The geometry, I think spot on. Seat tube angle, the build packages. If you look what we offer as complete builds, I think they're killer. And the pricing that we're able to offer them at, our number one seller, hands down, is our elite build. That one comes with a Lyric RC2, so highest end Lyric, comes with the super deluxe rear shock. It's SRAM GX Eagle, comes with stands, flow wheels, race face cockpit, Fox transfer dropper, and code RSC brakes for $45.99.
Oh, that's a great price.
Yeah, I think that whole package all the way together. Even our Pro model, that one's actually our second best seller. Is the Elite's number one, Pro's the second one, and that one's full XO, Reynolds carbon wheels. You have the option to upgrade to Fox factory suspension. A 36 grip 2 and an X2, carbon bar, code RSCs. At $65.99, it's pretty killer. So.
Oh wow, yeah, it's still very good. So let's talk about something controversial here. You guys have an e-bike.
We do have an e-bike.
So what got you into that market?
Have you ridden one?
I haven't ridden a trail bike yet. Like honestly, the only time I've been on one was more of like a street cruiser. It blew my mind, like just trying it, But I've definitely been wanting to ride something that's built for mountain biking, and hopefully I get a chance here soon.
I would highly recommend it. And then it has potential of being a little more understanding why we built it.
Yeah,
it's fun. It's just flat out fun. They're controversial. We get that. We know that. I think there's the biggest thing in my mind is being trail access, but things are opening up. And we as manufacturers have a responsibility to help educate customers and future customers on how to ride the bikes, where to ride the bikes, and a few things like that. The reason why we built an e-bike, it basically came down to fun, and we were getting asked for it left and right.
Yeah.
We had so many requests. It's crazy how many requests we have. And so we kind of took a different approach that, from what we saw, our interpretation of what was currently on the market, our interpretation was, here's a motor, here's a battery, put some suspension and geometry around it and go ride it. Right. And then the bikes didn't handle very well. They handled like limos. They didn't corner well. They didn't descend well. The suspension didn't feel all that great. And so we kind of flipped it and we said, let's go build a killer mountain bike first. Let's go build a really, really good suspension platform. Let's go build killer geometry of what a real bike should have. And then let's go figure out how to put a motor and a battery system into that. One case in point really was the chainstay length. Because we're running a mid motor on there, you would have to extend the chainstays to fit the motor system. Chainstays were out at like 445, 450. I recently saw one out at like 470 millimeters, which is crazy. It's awesome in a straight line. Like that is like absolute killer in a straight line.
Right.
But once you try to corner the thing or jump the thing or manual the thing, it becomes really, really difficult. And so, we kind of took that reverse approach to what our interpretation of what was being done is we build a bike first and then we fit the motor system and the battery system in there. And so we rotated the motor to be able to get 435 mil chainstays on 27 plus or 29 2.4. And then working with a battery system that was fully integrated, a really sleek, clean look instead of just slapping a battery on there that was sticking all out.
So the battery is in the down tube, right?
Correct.
How do you design like that? Like, because like between that and then the motor being basically down at the bottom bracket, right? Like the weight is just like, it's not how you would expect it to be, or it's not how it is on a regular bike. So like, what kind of things go into the design of that?
So we testing goes into it, right? So we actually test it with, when we run our fatigue testing on the frame, we actually test it with weight in the motor mount and weight in the battery mount, because we know there is going to be extra weight there. Also goes into component selection. There are e-bike specific components, namely, like one of them is the hub. Really simple ways, basically in most hubs, not all hubs, but most hubs, you have two bearings in the hub, two bearings in the free hub body. And then in the higher ones, you have an alloy axle running through the middle of it. In e-bike specific hubs, it's typically 3 bearings in the free hub body and a steel axle. And that just, because you have that extra wattage and that extra power, it just stops the free hub from twisting. And that's what's usually causing breakage, is when free hubs twist. So it's making sure we're using e-bike specific components, because you do have more power. Just again, it's that whole full bike analytics. It's not just, we got a motor and a battery, throw whatever you want on it. We really think through that. We make sure, we're tuning our suspension a little bit different, because there is, there's another 20 pounds of mass moving with you.
So what kind of angles do they use on like head tube and seat tube on something like that?
Well, what we did, we built it like an all mountain enduro bike. 66 degree head tube, 76 seat tube,
right?
435 chainstays. We built it like a modern mountain bike,
right?
To us, that was the issue with what we currently saw in the market is things weren't built that way.
Yeah. No, I totally hear you there. So what does something like that weigh? Like, I don't even know.
Our pro model comes in at 49 pounds, and our comp model, I think, is up at like 52.5.
Right. So I mean,
they're heavy.
Yeah, it's heavy, but I mean, it also has a motor on it. So I mean, or a pedal assist, whatever you want to call it.
I mean, but at the same time, it wasn't that long ago where the holy grail of weight in downhill bikes was 40 pounds.
Yeah, no, that's what I was.
Not that far off. But what's interesting is how you balance that weight, what you're doing in tires, what you're doing in suspension, brake, stopping power. They're extremely fun. That same loop that we were testing our enduro bike, the 20-25 mile, 4,000 to 5,000 foot days, where it's like, it's a 3.5-4 hour ride. I'm 6'4", 240 pounds. I'm a big dude. I climb slow. I just do. Where it's, it makes the climbs. I mean, I don't mind the climbing. It just takes me a long time. I don't ride with the skinny guys at the office. It's really fun on the downhills because they can't keep up, because I have a lot of inertia on downhills. But having that assist, I'm getting. So I'm going to go take my non-assisted bike and ride it for an hour, and I'm going to go take my pedal assist bike and I'm going to ride that for an hour. I'm going to get the same workout, but I'm just going to cover more distance on the assisted bike. Right? It's, instead of, I'm making 1 lap, on my non-assisted bike, I'm going to go make 2 on my assisted bike. Because I'm bigger. The assist helps me more, for a 150 pound guy that's like ultra marathon, just, insane shape, he may not get as much assist out of it. Right. Or much help. I'm a big dude. A lot of our customers are seeing that. What's really cool to me is we're seeing more dads riding with kids because of it. We're seeing more families riding together. And we're actually seeing like these guys that are like enduro racers and cross country racers, they're getting these as their recovery bike. Instead of just spinning on a trainer or just something really basic, just as like a recovery, they're getting on these. With the mode select, you can help with how much workout you're getting. You can control that. But it's fun. You're seeing more terrain. And it's obviously doing it responsibly, making sure you're staying on trails that are legal and knowing that there are places that aren't currently allowed and not not being an antagonist on that,
Yeah, no, I think the biggest problem is just the trail access portion of it. I think as far as like the reasoning for it, you're always going to have some haters. You're always going to have some people that are on the bandwagon or whatever. Like for me personally, like I've said this 100 times over, like whatever it takes to get people outside, I think that's the right thing. And I have heard enough compelling arguments of why to use one that way outweigh anything that I've heard somebody say on why not to. You know what I mean? It's like basically, I think the why not tos are usually like just, I don't know. I don't buy into the like, you got to earn your turn. Okay, well, what do you do when you go to fucking North Star and you get on a lift? Or what do you do when you go to Downeyville and you ride a van up freaking 5,000 feet elevation loss over 14 miles? You know what I mean? Like, so I would love to have one for like what you were talking about, like covering more distance, in a short amount of time, where I do have the ability to go out and like do these epic ride days. My kids are older, but I can totally understand like being able to get in like a really good ride in a short amount of time. Like
that's what it is for me. After work, it's like I have trails right from my house.
Right.
I've got to kind of stay not as fun trails, and I can ride 4, 5, 6 miles. It's steep around where I live. That's an hour after work. I get on this assisted bike and I get access to trails that are a little bit more fun, and it's 11, 12 miles in the same hour. And it's not like I'm doing anything reckless. It's not like I'm not yielding to traffic or, doing all these things, these stereotypical things you see. It's just, I climb slow, and this helps me not climb as slow. I have done, it's kind of a side note, I have run Strava and I've hit save my ride on a few things, and I'm still not the top guy on the climbs. It's crazy, right? I've obviously deleted it and changed it, whatever, but it was just funny to see this, just like I'm still not the fastest.
That's always my argument to people that are like, oh, well, they're just tearing up the trails or whatever. I'm like, dude, I guarantee you there's guys that are faster than me on an e-bike compared to them just normally. I see those fuckers fly by me on a goddamn single speed uphill like it's nothing. You know what I mean? Like those guys are animals, man.
Yeah. So we realize as a manufacturer, it's, it is part of our responsibility to help educate people. And we're trying to do that, and we're and getting people on the bikes to understand the bikes, how the bikes work, what they can do, but at the same time, their limitations as well. A lot of people think it's like, I'm just gonna hit a throttle and I'm gonna get thrown back in the seat and not gonna know what's happened. But they're totally different in how they work, and we're making steps to be able to do that. And then also knowing too, we're so connected as a society. I mean, we're states away, right? Or wherever people are listening, we're so connected that we sometimes unintentionally fall into this rule. It's like, well, no, it's this. The trail access is this, and it's like you might be in Connecticut or Florida or wherever else, and that might be the case in your area. But just knowing a little bit, stepping back and going, hey, trail access is a little bit different. It is a new issue. It's an evolving issue.
Yeah.
I know there's trail access issues. Not even just assisted bikes, but just regular bikes all over California. And a lot of places, you can't even take bikes in a lot of different places. And so it's, being conscious of that before, we get on social media or start lobbing bombs of different things here and there. There are different areas and things like that, both for and against, the pedal assist.
We have an OHV park that's right by where I ride all the time in Auburn, California. And for me, like, where I could see the e-bike just being freaking awesome, it's like when we ride that OHV park, like it really takes us like 3 trucks to have a really good day, where you're not spending like so much time like driving up and down trying to like do swaps or whatever. And then otherwise, like if you're just climbing out of that fucking place, like if you did it twice in one day, you're like done, son. You know what I mean? It's like it's a legit climb getting out of there. But like I've seen guys on e-bikes and they're just doing laps, man. And it's like, that's sick. That looks like a lot of fun. And they could be going up some of the trails that we don't even go up, like where we're driving on the road. They could be going up some of the other trails that are a little more tame for uphill. where it's like we don't bother riding up them because it just sucks, you know. So like, but with that little bit of extra like oomph, it'd be like, oh yeah, well that makes sense, you know, just shoot back up there that way.
Yep.
I definitely I know I know it's in my future to probably own one. I'd love to see the trail access things get worked out where I could go up and do like just some monster ride up in Tahoe at high elevation that I would never be able to do on without like training for like 2 years. You know what I mean? Where it's like to go up and ride some, you know, 50-mile loop in 10,000 feet elevation, like that's just not in my wheel set as a guy that has a regular job. And you know what I mean? Like so many hours in a day. Maybe I'm making excuses. I don't know. But I think that to me, like stuff like that, where it'd be super fun. Like there's an area called Georgetown that is another OHV park that there's a lot of mountain bikers up there. And unless you're using the shuttle service up there, it's like, that's going to be it'll be a fun day, but it's not going to be as fun as you could have if you were either taking the shuttle or riding an e-bike. You know what I mean? It's just like so much more fun to be had. I think that for me, like that's definitely, I see it in the future for me without a doubt, you know. What does the battery last on that thing? How does that go? Is it like,
so batteries, the life, the range, you know, we on our bike, it's 500 watt hours, is what it is. So in eco mode, you can go up to 60 miles. Obviously that's going to change. You're probably not always going to ride it in eco mode. Elevation makes a difference. Riding on flat ground isn't going to use as much of the battery as, you know, riding up something super steep. Rider weight, cadence, there's a bunch of different variables. That being said, me 6'4", 240, probably 250, 260 geared up. I've been able to do multiple times, like 24 miles and 4,500 feet and not kill the battery. It's a big day.
Yeah. No, that's definitely that's a really good day riding.
So, and it's gonna vary. You know, there is all those variables. It's, you know, where you're running your cadence zone. You know, 70, 80 RPM is kind of the sweet spot on those motors. Just a regular cadence, like a regular bike. Which assist mode are you using? Elevation, how steep a terrain are you riding? A little bit with rider weight. That doesn't as big effect. Temperature will affect it as well. You know, you ride them in super, super cold, you know, that'll drain it just like it would on anything electronic. So
right. That's interesting. You know, it's just it's a totally different thing to think about then. So whenever the battery dies, like you still can change gears and like pedal just a 50-pound bike, right?
Oh yeah, totally.
So
totally.
I mean, it's not like it locks up or something like that.
Nope.
I'll tell you what, because I have Di2 shifting on my gravel bike, and I forgot to charge that once, and freaking that just stops. Like I wish there was some kind of button on there that I could push to at least pick the fucking gear that I want to be in. But
I think they have a reserve on those actually. I think you can go into a reserve mode.
I think it does like 20 shifts after that or something like that. But I'm pretty sure whenever I did that, my battery was like completely, there was no reserve. There was like, I hadn't ridden the bike in like 6 months and totally didn't think about charging it at all, and freaking showed up the trail. And it was like, no, this is not even, there's no blinky light. You're riding a single speed today, Rob.
Yeah.
So
yeah, but that was totally the bike's fault. That wasn't your fault for that.
No, not at all. Right. Totally the bike's fault. So, what is it that you're looking forward to this next year? Just, Sea Otter or something else? Like,
I'm actually really excited to keep this excitement and momentum that we have going. It's been a crazy year. Once we have Sea Otter, we launched our Signal Peak last year at Sea Otter, and we are going to launch another bike at Sea Otter this year. Within that 1 year window, we will have launched 7 new bikes in a year. Wow.
You guys are freaking crunching out some bikes then, huh?
Yeah. And we always have stuff in the pipeline, always have stuff working. So so for me, it's really keeping that momentum going. And it's exciting to, you know, kind of just the business side of seeing that grow.
Uh-huh.
On the bike side, I do love Sea Otter. Sea Otter is such a blast. It's good to see everybody. It's that, and then getting out and riding with my family.
Uh-huh.
Little girl's loving it. Wife loves it. That's really what I'm most excited about on bikes, and just meeting new friends and riding with old ones out on trails and just having a good time.
Yeah, that's been one of the most fun parts for me about having this channel, is just like meeting all kinds of new people that I wouldn't have been able to meet before. It's just definitely it's fun. It's definitely fun. So
Yeah.
I mean, it's the same thing for you, probably, going to an event and just getting to meet a lot of other people out there and go to new places and ride. And I think that if there's anything that I could tell to anybody out there, like, definitely, like, don't just ride your local trails, man. Like, look at the map and see how far it is for you to drive a couple hours and go somewhere. And if you can afford it, go somewhere where you fly and rent a bike or take your bike. Like, it's definitely every trail is different, man. And it's like, even if it's if it's 10 minutes away from your favorite trail, or it's freaking 3 states away or another country, it's just, I think it's a lot of fun to be had out there, right?
Yeah, totally agree. And it's cool. Yeah, some of my best friends actually they're Fezzari customers.
Yeah.
Just coming in and getting to know them and become better friends with them through that, ironically. So which is pretty cool.
Yeah, totally. I mean, even a handful of people that I hang out on the regular with now are like people that I met through my channel. So I mean, it's definitely, I think that's the thing about mountain bikes that I like. I just like the attitude of the people. Everybody's kind of got this, like, I don't know. I don't want to be stereotypical. Everybody's pretty laid back though. And
yeah, I feel lucky and feel kind of grateful that there's people out there that are willing to trust us and buy product from us that allows me to have my dream job.
Yeah,
really,
yeah, totally.
Making bikes.
Did you do some kind of like big social media push this year or anything like that like contributed to all the extra sales, or you just think it's just a matter of like finally the word has started to spread?
I think the word has really spread. I think it's really, a lot of it's been new product.
Mm-hmm.
Our product's been good in years past. And I think just here this last year, all the new product that we have launched, introduced, has really just made things explode for us.
So you think that's like you guys hired some new engineers or something like that really helped out, or it's like you just finally like refined the process well enough, or?
Probably yes.
Yes.
It came down to it's taking some new risks that we hadn't taken previously. Going out on limbs, trying a few different things. It's really the whole magic thing is just pulling levers, man. And it's what combination to pull the levers and how far, right?
Right.
We got we feel fortunate to be able to have some success, and we are doing everything we possibly can to back that up, not only with the product, but what's coming over the next few years. We're not interested in being a one-hit wonder.
Yeah.
And I don't think we're going to be.
Yeah, no, it doesn't seem that way. I've definitely seen your name pop up a lot more, and a lot of people, I mean, just people that I know, like riding your bike. There's another YouTuber on here earlier, JC Trails. He said, say what's up to you, that he's digging his new bike.
Yeah.
And I know that guy's a ripper. So he was also very, very big on the specialized bandwagon. So for him to be sitting on one of your bikes, I'm impressed.
I saw an Instagram video of him. That dude can rip. I hope he comes and visits us sometime and to enjoy some travel with him.
He's a super fun guy. I don't see why. And he travels a lot too for his job, so he gets kind of lucky. I'm jealous of that dude. He's got the right gig there. So we're wrapping up, man. Freaking 2 hours here, just about, and I can't say thanks to you enough, dude. Like, I really appreciate you taking the time to sit down and chat. And it was cool. We bumped into each other in Sedona. I don't always get to meet everybody that I chat with on here, so it was cool to meet somebody in real life. I'll definitely. Are you going to be you're going to be at Sea Otter?
Yeah, I'll be at Sea Otter. Yep.
Sweet. Well, I'll definitely bump into you down there for sure.
Yeah,
I'm sure it's going to be busy. I've never been there. It's just like, my assumption is like the inner bike of like mountain biking though, right?
It's turned into a massive outdoor trade show.
Yeah.
So instead of like a whole bunch of different colored carpet, you get to be outdoors. There's racing going on. There's people riding their bikes.
Yeah.
Not only like you see the biggest pros, but there's every style of racing in every category. It's my first time racing was at Sea Otter. That happens all the time, and there's always new product releases happening, and it's just a fun atmosphere. It's on the racetrack at Laguna Seca, so it's fun just to be there and see all of that. You've probably played it in every video game out there. So it's just a fun festival, fun event, and everybody just it's there because of bikes. So
that's
super a lot of
fun. Cool. Well, I appreciate it, Tyler. Everybody that's been hanging out with us for the last 2 hours, I appreciate that as well. I saw a few super chats up there. Appreciate the support, guys. Definitely keep that coming, because I got a beer habit that I need you to support. Just kidding. That definitely helps though. Keep the channel together. I appreciate it. Subscribe and support. That's one of those things that I'm supposed to say, because if I don't, the channel doesn't grow. And then I'm not happy, because I like seeing it grow. It makes me happy to see the channel grow. So definitely, if you're one of those lurkers that's just listening here and there and not hitting subscribe, hit that button. Same thing goes if you listen to this as a podcast. That would be awesome to me if you stop by like the Apple Podcast and just wrote a review. I actually go through and read them all, because I don't know. I just like reading them. I think it's fun. And so it also helps the podcast grow, which has been doing very well since we started. So if you can have a few minutes to do something like that, that'd be awesome. I really appreciate it. Everybody will be here next week, like we are every Sunday at 5 p.m. PST. And I can't remember who it is that's on next week. I'm already screwing up. So let's see if I can just go ahead and just fumble on my words for a second to figure out who it is. Oh, there it is. So next week I have pro rider Kyle Warner. He's going to be on the show, so that'll be a fun conversation. I actually met that guy in my garage because I bought a bike from Craigslist from this dude, and that's kind of a funny story of how I ended up meeting him. So anyways, appreciate everybody. Thank you very much. Remember one thing and one thing only: it only takes a bike to be a biker. So get out and be one.